have this like ideology that manifesting something just means like you just think about it. I'm gonna think about this so much and then like it's just gonna like pop up. It's like, how would you do that? You gotta make it make sense. You're gonna have a period of time where nobody agrees with you, and it's because they don't have the vision that you have. The road of the successful is a very lonely one. You're gonna be alone a lot because think about it, you're trying to do something that the majority and the masses are not doing.
I'm so over it. Don't be texting, don't be calling, say you're so
Welcome back to the Ladies Always Win podcast. I am your host, Miss Law, Miss Ladies Always Win herself, and today, I'm actually here solo dolo. I'm not really alone. Wave is over there. If you don't know, Wave, he edits all the podcasts and he also shoots and edits all my music videos. But Day's just not here. She won't be here for, the next few episodes that you see. She doesn't feel good. She had a headache. And to be honest, guys, if I sound like a little weird or you see me just sipping on this water a lot, I don't feel the best either. But the show must go on. And I like the podcast. I feel like I could just sit here and vibe or whatever. So today's episode is just going to be like a little more of like a sit down, vibey, like your bestie girl chat kind of a thing. If you're watching, go get you a little snack, get you a little vibe. You feel me? If you're listening to me doing something, hey girl, how are you? Appreciate you tuning in. And I think today's topic is going to be good. It's actually something that a lot of people ask me about. And message me about. It's also something that I just do a lot of research for how to do. And that's how to manifest your dream life, right? Like, how do you actually become successful? And I think that there's a lot of different things out there. And a lot of people ask me like, yo, like, how did you get 1 million followers on TikTok? How did you get millions of streams on your song? How did you start a podcast, right? All these like, big things that people are like, that's so dope and cool. Like, how did you do all of that? And I definitely say I manifested it, but I think people have this like ideology that manifesting something like just means like you just think about it. I'm gonna think about this so much and then like it's just gonna like pop up. And that's not really how it is. But yeah, I was like, you know what, let's really have a chat about that. And just try to give you guys some advice, or I want anyone to just listen to this or watch this that they at the end of the episode feel a little bit inspired. But I think the first thing, right, is that success is a lot different. I'm not like, success to you could really just be like you make $20,000 a year and like you live off your land. Like if that's successful to you, then I think that that's being successful. So I think the biggest thing is I think you have to define what is your version of success. What do you actually want, right? Obviously, like we all get influenced that like, oh, being successful is having a lot of money. Being successful is having, being super famous or whatever. But a lot of times like people will like want that because like that's what society says, but like that's not even what they want. And then it's like they spend their whole life trying to be successful, but it's like they're actually just trying to live somebody else's life. And like that's never gonna work because like it's not authentic. Like it's not, what am I trying to say? It's not authentic. Guys, I need a cough drop, but I can't have a cough drop. So I'm just going to suffer for all of you, but it's fine because I love you all. But yeah, I think that there's like no authenticity to it. And I think that that's why it doesn't work. So I feel like you have to really sit down and think like, okay, like what is my version of success? What does that look like? How do I feel? Like down to like how much money you make, where do you live? How do you spend your time? Because for me, like, I really have to make anything super, like, realistic. Meaning, what is it going to really look like, right? Boom. Perfect example, okay? I happen to go to European Wax Center. Shout out to them. Not sponsored. But yeah, I happen to go there. And if you go there, right, odds are they've hit you with the Wax Pass speech. They all do. They're trained on it. They have to tell you about it. And I do go there pretty consistently, but I don't get it. You know why? I got commitment issues. I don't like people charging my card. It just bugs me out. So every time I go, like, I be letting them tell me the spiel and I be acting mad interested, like, oh, wow, yeah. And then I'm just like, I'm just going to pay for my service today. And like, I never do it. But I went the other day, and the girl, like, she broke it down. First of all, just the way she was explaining it, it just made more sense to me, the way that she was saying it, right? And then she basically was like, it's only $12 extra from what you're paying today. And I was like, wait, really? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, well, how much am I going to get paid like in a month? And she was like, $42, like what I'd have to be paying like right then and there. And I was like, oh, and like the way that she broke it down, like she gave me a real number that I can now see, okay, in a month, like I literally envisioned like the $42 getting taken out of my Cash App from European Wax Center. Everyone else who explained it to me, they didn't like put it in a way that like how it would really look in real time. Like, so for me in my brain, anytime I do something, I need to know what is it really going to look like. So even like when I would envision like my future life, I would think like, okay, I'm going to have this kind of house. I'm going to dress like this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And like when you do that, when you actually envision right? Like in super detail, the life that you want, you can then create it. But you can't create something that you don't see. Like if someone was like, hey, draw me a picture of a cow and a dinosaur. But it's like, if you were able to close your eyes and envision a cow or a dinosaur, if you've never seen a cow or a dinosaur, it's like, how would you do that? You gotta make it make sense. But yeah, so I think if you want to be successful, just even like in manifesting, you have to really, really, really like create a super duper duper strong vision. And I feel like before we even get into like, how do you really like do it, right? I think that there should be some disclaimers out there. I think everyone who makes these videos and makes this kind of content and tells people like, yo, this is how you're gonna get rich, this is how you're gonna whatever. I think it's great that people share like the things that worked for them, right? That's all I'm doing is I'm just gonna tell you what I did and it happened to work for me. But I feel like what nobody tells people is like the disclaimer. So I'm gonna let you guys know what you're in for if this is the realm that you're in. Doesn't have to be music, doesn't have to be anything creative, but if you're just trying to do something different or something very grand, maybe non-traditional, right? Maybe you don't want to go to college, you want to start a business. Maybe you want to do music, you want to do something a little bit unconventional, a little bit different. There's a few things I think that you should be prepared for. And one of them is nobody agreeing with you. That's a really big one. Like, I think everyone who's been successful, they have this time period. I just feel like it's in the formula of success that you're going to have a period of time where nobody agrees with you. No one's going to understand what you're trying to do. They're going to think that what you're trying to do is dumb. And it's because they don't have the vision that you have, right? So I think that when people are like, they start this journey of trying to like manifest their dream life and they start telling people about it. And then everyone's like, oh, why are you doing that? Oh, why would you do that? They kind of are like, oh, well, then maybe it's a bad idea. No. Just because someone doesn't agree with you or someone doesn't understand what you're doing, it doesn't make it bad. And it doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. It just means that that person doesn't get it. In fact, I don't think you should really tell a lot of people when you first start and whatever it is, right? I think the first few steps that you're going to do, don't tell anybody. For real, because other people's like energies and their thoughts and their ideas, if it's not like lined up, because some people, they have like really supportive groups of people, but if you're not one of those people and you know that like, let's say like your family is gonna look at you like, oh, well, why are you trying to do that? Oh, you think that you're this, you think you're that. If you know you have people like that in your life, no matter how much you might deep down like want their approval, don't tell them. Don't until you have to, just because I think that during that period of time, your idea and your manifestation is in such like a fragile, like infant form that if anything toxic or negative gets on it, like it's just going to squelch it and it's not even going to get to really, become what it needs to become. So yeah, I think that you have to be okay with people not agreeing with you and just kind of going against the grain. And that's the thing too, is like the road of the successful is a very lonely one. You're going to be alone a lot because think about it. You're trying to do something that the majority and the masses are not doing. You have to really be okay with like being alone. If you're trying to do anything different, right? Anything different on a grand scale, you're going to be alone. There's not going to be a lot of people, right? There was a Drake song and he said, I guess it really is just me, myself, and all my millions. He's not lying. There's not a lot of people. Like the more that you go up in like the social ladder or the whatever, like even in a company, right? If you think about the way that a traditional company works, you have a lot of employees, let's say at the lower tier, who are making the minimum wage, who are really, getting the business going. As you go up to like managers, executive people, this person of that division, the top tier people, it gets smaller and smaller. You might have 100 employees, but then out of that 100 employees, you probably maybe have 10 managers, right? And then maybe of those 10 managers, they have 3 people that they go up to. And then out of those 3 people, maybe they only meet 1 person, right? The higher you go up, there's just less people because not everybody is capable of really doing the things that the top people have to do. So I feel like, again, I think because a lot of people, we all want acceptance, but it's just, yeah, it's a lonely road, and I think you should be okay with that. I wish I could film this podcast in my car. Because like when I'm just driving, like maybe we should set these up. Because when I'm just driving in my car, like I don't know. Yeah, my thoughts be flowing in the car, or just like when I'm in my house alone. So I just wanted to put a disclaimer out there that people are not going to like you. The second disclaimer is that it's going to be hard. It's going to be really hard. And I think that the second that people experience resistance, they just take it as a sign from the universe. Like, oh, this wasn't meant for me. Like, no. Like, that's the thing too, was like good things are on the other side of pain. Like, think about literally life in general. There's nothing more beautiful and more precious and more valuable than literally human life. How are humans created? Through a very, very painful, gruesome process of birth, right? And they all tell you that after birth, right after this crazy pain that woman is going through, they forget about all that because of how beautiful the baby is and the thought of just, wow, like this human life that I just made. So literally that's like the blueprint, right? Anything good comes after pain. So I think if you're on your journey and shit is just getting hard, that's really just a sign of like, oh, like at this point now in my life, I understand that like law in the universe so well that because it's everywhere, right? It's birth, it's all over the place. I simply think it's like the law of gravity. It's like the law of success, right? That eventually you have to go through some type of tension, hardship, whatever. So whenever shit starts getting bad for me, I actually start to get happy because I'm like, oh shit. And I'm like, God, you better do the thing. Even in the Bible, right? I like grew up like I'm, Christian. I like read a lot of Bible stories. And in all these stories, it always just like shit just starts getting like wonky, like crazy. And then after that, boom, it's always, even like in movies, right? So whenever like bad stuff starts happening to me, I get excited because I'm like, oh shit, that means something really good's about to happen. So I think that you should take that same mindset and that same approach that when things get hard, it doesn't mean stop. It means, oh, I'm actually on the right path. It's almost like a little sign that's like, hey, you're going the right direction. Because if things are just too easy and things are just lining up and there's no challenge at all, if that's your case, please tell me how to do that. I would love to pursue my dreams with like zero hardship. If there's a hack, let me know. DM me on Instagram. But yeah, I think that you have to just understand it's going to be hard. This is me interrupting myself because I wanted to let you know that I just dropped a brand new song and video called Switch It Up. It is out right now on all DSPs. The video is on YouTube. All the links will be down below. If you're looking for a new song, you feel me, to put on like your summer vibes playlist, this is it. So make sure that after this episode, or literally right now, that you guys go down there, check it out, add it to a playlist, and tag me on Instagram in a little video, if you're listening to it. But let's get back into the episode. And the last little disclaimer, I love how like I haven't even like gotten into the actual like tips, but these are all just little nugs, you feel me? But the last little disclaimer is that I think people have to realize it's going to cost you. And I think you need to think, what is it going to cost? I have this whole theory that everything in life is a transaction, whether it's money, whether it's time. The idea of me, let's say, paying money to get a shirt, that concept is all around us all the time. It's just sometimes we're not trading money for something. Sometimes we're trading time for something. Sometimes we're trading comfortability for something. Is comfortability a word? Sometimes we're, trading in being comfort for something, but the exchanging of, hey, I'm going to give up this, right? I.e. money. People don't look at it that way. They just think, oh, I'm buying it. No. You are giving up. You are releasing. You are letting go of money. And in return, you're going to get whatever you're buying. So I think when you're pursuing a goal, that same thing is happening. And I think people don't realize that, and they don't see it coming. And it really kills a lot of people who are like trying to do something or trying to manifest something, because it's like, okay, cool. I now have to give up, right? My time. I have to give up being comfortable. I might have to give up friends. I might have to give up all these things, right? Doing the things that I want to do in exchange for insert your dream life, insert what you're trying to manifest. And I understand that concept a lot. Like, and especially now, like lately, I've had so many people like just like that I grew up with, or just from my life, like before I started doing this. I think I only really speak to one person. Shout out to my Kia girl. You're my girl. From like when I started doing music, because I just had this understanding that if I want to, be this like the biggest pop star in the world, it's going to take every minute of every day of every hour that I have to where I don't see people. I don't hang out with friends. Like I do this. I make content. After this, I'm literally going to go make content. And then after that, I'm probably going to go home and go live. Like everything that I'm doing in my life on my day-to-day is doing something in some way to propel me towards my goal. And I'm not saying that I think that you should, go through burnout, right? Not at all. But I just think that I understand the concept. If I'm going to give up my time with my family, my time with my friends, I'm going to give up, my financial financial blanket, being comfortable. I'll spend all the money I have on something for my music, or something for what I want to do. And I think that, again, like you can't have both, you know what I mean? And I even get into arguments with my parents because my parents will be like, oh, you know, you should really have this much money saved up and you should really have these accounts. And it's like, I get that, right? They're telling me just the traditional way. But I'm like, if I'm not trying to have, let's even just take a financial life. If I don't want the traditional financial life, right, of 401ks and stocks and whatever else that I don't even understand, if that's not what I want, I can't take that advice because that advice is going to get me that result. So I'm like, I'm going to do something else, right? Because I'm trying to have millions and millions of dollars in my account. That might mean for 2 to 5 years, I never have money. But then one day when some shit works out, I'm always going to have millions of dollars, right? So I just think that people don't understand that what you're trying to do is going to cost you something. And I think that before you even pursue it, you should really sit down and think about it and just really think, okay, am I okay with this? Like a lot of people, even like a relationship, so many people, and again, like when you see these like top tier successful people, a lot of them don't have relationships or they have a relationship after the fact. Can it be done? Yes. Can you find that balance? Yes. But I think that people just don't consider that it's actually really hard, like super, super difficult. And I think that you have to really sit down and think like, okay, am I going to be happy? And that's the other thing too. Like, are you going to be okay? And can you sustain that? Because I think that like, sure, maybe you can go 2 weeks, right? Not seeing your friends, not doing this, not sleeping. But after a while, you might be miserable. And I think that most of becoming successful is literally the journey. The journey is most of it. The actual destination, the actual thing you attain is like here and there. It comes and goes. It lasts you for a second, right? If you're trying to manifest, 100,000 followers, most of the time it's going to be the journey to get there, right? It's going from 10,000 to 20,000 to this. When you actually hit 100,000, it's going to happen. And then the second that you get a new follower, now you have 100,001. So that actual moment really only lasted about 30 seconds, if that. But it's the actual journey of getting there, right? Coming up with the strategies, coming up with your content, coming up with what your niche is going to be, all that cool stuff. That's the majority of it. So I feel like you have to make sure that you like, oh, all right. Sorry, I had a phone call. And I had to drink some water because my throat is killing me. But yeah, those are just some disclaimers. Like those aren't even like how to really like get into it and do it. But yeah, so I think getting into the actual like real life tips of how to manifest your dream life, how to be successful, I truly, truly in the depths of my soul believe it all comes down to every single day doing 3 things to get you closer to what you want to do. If you can do that over a long period of time, right, the compounding of that, you are 100% going to get where you want to be. The issue that people run into is, number one, they don't know the things that get them closer. So they might be doing things every day that are actually moving them farther away, or they're not super consistent. But I think when you have those 2 things, it is inevitable. It is inevitable. If you're doing the right things and you're doing it consistently, you will eventually get what you're trying to get. I remember one time I grew up in upstate New York, and like this was like a life, like a God load. That's what I call them. When like I feel like God just like puts like a message in my brain and it's like, oh snap. Some people call it an intuitive download. I just came up with the term God load the other day. But yeah, so I grew up in upstate New York and there was a blizzard like nobody's business. And if I can find the video of me and my brother shoveling, I will have Wave put it in here, but literally snow, I think it was like 4 feet of snow. I'm not even kidding you. And I like the snow was like up to my legs. Like it was crazy. And I remember me and my brother just looking outside, like you couldn't see nothing. Like our cars in our driveway, you saw the tops. Like it was literally insane. And my dad's like, all right, guys, I'm at work, start shoveling. Ridiculous. No snow blowers, no nothing, but that's another story about how black people just like use their children as slaves, but maybe we'll talk about that later. But yeah, so I remember I was like, bro, like how are we gonna do this? Like when you're looking at the situation, right, it seemed impossible. It seemed like no matter how long we were shoveling, it just wasn't gonna ever be done, ever. And I remember, right, we're shoveling, we did like the walkway, it took us like an hour. And we had 2 driveways, so love that for us. So then we're doing one of the driveways and like we stopped, and I was just like, again, so much snow, we just sat back. Because it was just that much snow. I'm looking around. And I remember just thinking to myself, wow, even though it feels like I'm never going to be done shoveling this, if we just keep on doing this, eventually we will be done. Like, we just have to keep going. And eventually everything will be shoveled. But again, when you're looking at it and when you're in the situation, it just feels like there's no way. There's no way. And all you want to do is really just stop because you're like, bro, there's no way. And I remember thinking about that. And right when we were done, I was like standing inside my house, like looking at it. And like, I never forgot that. Like, I was like, yo, like that's just everything in life. That's every impossible looking situation is like that. That it seems impossible when you're looking at it. And it seems like it is forever when you're in it. But if you just consistently keep chipping away, you're going to get where you want to go. So for me personally, right, I'm a big planner gal. Anyone knows me, I'm like into that. And I think the biggest thing, again, like when people want to know like, oh, how did you get 1 million followers? How did you get 1 million streams? How did you do this? First of all, I researched a lot. And I think that a lot of people don't do that because a lot of the things that like I do and that I did, like I just YouTubed it. Like it's not some secret society information. If you just like look up how to make money online, you're gonna find a lot of videos. Like again, I'm not saying all of them are good, but like the information is out there. So when I wanted to grow my TikTok, I would literally look up how to grow on TikTok. Like I just looked it up and I'd watch videos after videos and I would just try things. So I think a lot of it is just like really indulging yourself in the information and then it's all just trial and error. But once you actually find something that really clicks, I think it's like super duper just doing that to an extreme amount. But I think the overall premise of just like, you know, being successful in anything, I have a top 3 that I like to do every day. Top 3s will be your bestest friend. I'm telling you, if you're trying to do anything, just implement. If you take anything from this video, let it be top 3s. And this is what you're going to do, right? I like to just break things down just as small as they can get so that they don't become overwhelming because that's how you're actually going to do it. If it feels like it's too big and too daunting, you're not going to do it. It has to feel so seamless and easy to you that you can actually do it every single day. So you're going to take your big goal, right? Insert big goal. Let's say, let's use a real life example. Okay, boom. For me, 100,000 streams on a song. Like this is like a real thing that I do. That'll be my main goal. So then I'll break down a timeline. I want to have this many streams by this date, right? And let's say that acutes to, you know, making sure that you get 20,000 streams a week. I don't like to put a lot of my goal setting into the results because you can't really control that. I like to really put it in the execution because that's what I'm in charge of. I can't be in charge of if it actually hits that number, but I like to make sure that everything I want to do, I can measure it in like what I'm doing. So, right, I'll be like, boom. My goal, 100,000 streams. My top 3 for the week, right? It will not be, you know, about the numbers. It'll be film the music video, create TikToks, and then something else. Those will be for the week. And then every day, right? Those are the 3 things I want to get done for that week. And then every day I'm doing 3 things that go towards that. So if one of the top 3 things is, let's say, shoot the music video, okay? One day, one of the top 3s will probably be look up ideas. That's it. That's all I'm going to do is just look up ideas. The next day in the top 3, it might be make a treatment, right? Putting together pictures, the vibe, the visuals. The next day it might be order the outfits. Okay. The day after that, one of my top 3s will be booking the location, right? And then the actual last day will be filming the video. So throughout the whole week, every day I did something super small, right, to actually accomplish this bigger goal of filming a music video. So I think that a lot of people, they just don't break things down. Again, everything just becomes big. It's daunting. And I think that if you really want to get things done, you have to make it like super easy and digestible. So that's my little gift to you guys. I'm telling you, top 3. If you're on my lives, if you're on anything, you hear me talking about it because I live by it. I'm like neurotic. If I don't do my top 3, I'm like crying. I feel like a terrible person, which don't be like me on that aspect. But it's just the whole premise of eating away at your goals slowly over time. So I would say that's like the biggest thing with like just like the actual real like tips, advice. And then more so on like the manifesting side, because I think that the manifesting has to do a lot with your mindset, right? But then also the actual like work and the habits. So the top 3s and the planning and the things like that, the research, those are all like the physical work. On the manifesting side, obviously it's like the, you know, visualizing it is really big manifesting thing. But the other thing too is just becoming that person. I had this other, again, God load. I think I was in the shower and I realized, I was like, okay, what is like next level me doing? Where does she live? And I have this exact apartment that I want to get. I know where it is. I know how much the rent is. I know all that. Because again, I need to get my brain familiar with like paying that much money for rent and living a certain way. So I like to get the information so that my body's not shocked when it happens. Like I got to make it normal. So I was thinking about that. I was like, okay, boom, she lives here. She gets up at this time and she makes this kind of food. And I thought about it and I was like, yo, okay, who am I right now? I would say where I live, and I would say the things that I do, right? Everyone is just a mixture of their habits and beliefs. So I'd write down the things I believe and the things that I do. Then I'm like, okay, well, this is what future me does. She believes these things and she does these things. And I was like, if I just do those things, that would then make me that person. Like, and something just like clicked in my brain of like, if you just do the things that future you does, you are now future you. And what happens is when, like, because the thing too that people say, like in the manifestation world, is that anything you desire, you actually already have it. Like, future you is living this life, and that's why current present you has these urges to be like, yo, I really want this. You want it because you actually already have it. Deep down the line, in another realm, you actually physically attain and you have these things. So I was like, dude, if I just do these things, I'm then her. And then what happens is when you yourself, right, energetically are doing the things that future you is doing, your outside reality almost like has to like it's like a weird thing that I was thinking about, but you basically, your outside reality has to compound very quickly, because now what happens is you're energetically at your future self, but your physical reality is not. But your physical reality is always going to follow what your internal like energies are doing. So the second that you actually start acting like, right, like legitimately on it, like not just pretending, like consistently doing these things that future you does to the point where it's actually who you are, that's when then your outer reality is going to change. I'm telling you, out of nowhere, like just like randomly, you'll just have this, you'll have that, because it's like, if you think about it, the reason why future you has these things is because of the things that they do every day. It's the habits that they do. It's the mindset that they have. That's why they have it, and that's how they got it. So when you just apply those things to your life now, it's like getting on a little like quick golf cart and just like getting there super fast. But yeah, so that was my little tidbit spiel, guys. Alone solo episode. I hope that you guys liked it. If you have not yet left us a review on Apple Podcasts, baby, which you guys have. Some of you have. I was reading them. Love it. Wanted to cry. They mean so much to me. But I will be doing a giveaway for $100 Sephora gift card. Yes, y'all know how Sephora works. Y'all know that $100 off an order would be very helpful. So when we get our first 100 reviews, I will be giving away $100 Sephora gift card. So all you have to do is just go leave a review. Even if you listen on Spotify or you watch on YouTube, if you have an iPhone, you could literally just go leave a review, and then boom, you're entered in to win. So the faster that we do that, guys, the faster somebody can win. And it also just like helps the podcast. If you just like the stuff that I talk about on here, it just helps it. It pushes it out. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you like, comment, share, all the things, subscribe. Leave a comment down below. And honestly, the next solo episode, I might try that car thing. You might see me in my car driving if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening, the audio will probably sound the same. But yeah, so I love you all. See you next Wednesday.
I'm so over it. Don't be texting, don't be calling till you're so